The Raiders can finally take their head coaching search seriously. What's up? This is Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff. On today's show, Tom Brady can show up to work and help the Raiders. Will we be watching the Raiders' next head coach in the Super Bowl? Plus, the Golden Knights got destroyed by the Ottawa Senators? What? And UNLV's winning streak was snapped by San Diego State. Here we go. The Seattle Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. It comes after they got rid of Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. They parted ways mutually with Pete Carroll after the 2023 season, brought in Mike Macdonald, and then the following offseason, they got rid of Geno Smith by trading him to the Raiders and got a third-round pick out of it. And in Mike Macdonald and Sam Darnold's first season together, they won the NFC and are going to the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, the Raiders hired Pete Carroll and traded that third-round pick for Geno Smith. They took the guys that were holding the Seahawks down. They're like, that's who we want. That's played out very, very poorly, which, by the way, it's a big reason why I find it hard to just say, oh, yeah, of course, Tom Brady's in charge. He's going to help the Raiders. Tom Brady and John Spytek were in charge last offseason, and it was bad offseason. And Geno Smith and Pete Carroll were probably two of the biggest mistakes that they made. So it's not like, oh, yeah, they're in good shape now. Do you think Tom Brady realized while calling the NFC Championship game, oh, wow, they're so much better without the guys that I took from that team? Because remember, reportedly, the Raiders were interested in signing Sam Darnold as a free agent, and Tom Brady said no to that. So, I wonder if Brady realized, oh, wow, I kind of screwed this whole thing up. But the good news for the Raiders is that Tom Brady is done calling games on Fox. The Super Bowl's on NBC, so there are no more games for Brady to call on Fox, which means Tom Brady can participate in head coaching interviews and the head coaching search every day of the week instead of just sometimes, some days of the week. There was a story at The Athletic by Andrew Marchand over the weekend, and it was about Tom Brady, mostly as Tom Brady, the broadcaster, and some praise as to Tom Brady being a better broadcaster this year than he was in his first season. But it also included some information, some pieces about Tom Brady as the partial owner of the Raiders and being Mark Davis's decision maker, lead decision maker, whatever that title is that Tom Brady unofficially has. But this was a quote from Tom Brady about his role as sort of a decision maker in the front office type of role. He said, "My preparation is very much centered around what I have to do in broadcasting. I love, obviously, having a chance to be involved with the Raiders, to be a former player and have minority ownership is like a dream come true. I couldn't afford to pay to be a general partner. I did very well in my career. It's awesome to kind of help shape and strategize and be a visionary for a team. I love being involved in football." So Tom Brady is a visionary for the Raiders. He's helping strategize and shape the Raiders, according to Tom Brady. Also, according to Tom Brady, he hasn't been paying attention very hard to the Raiders because his focus has been around his broadcasting. I don't understand how this isn't getting more criticism across NFL media. I don't get it. The Raiders have given Tom Brady this fake role of not a real role. He's a part owner, so they can't give him an actual position. But giving him this role as the guy who's in charge, and yet he's not paying attention. He's got other things that he's more interested in, specifically the job that he gets to talk on TV about football that pays him over $30 million a year. I don't get why this is not why are they not getting criticized more for this? The Raiders have a guy in charge that's more worried about calling games on Fox than about hiring their next head coach. They don't have a head coach. And the guy that they want to make all the decisions is telling everybody, yeah, I'm focusing on Fox. I don't understand why that's not getting more criticism. The Raiders couldn't interview candidates on days that Brady was calling games. Right? The Falcons hired Kevin Stefanski while Brady was calling an NFL playoff game. The Raiders asked candidates to come to Miami for interviews because that was more convenient for Tom Brady. It's just wild to me that there's not more criticism of this. And it's insane that an NFL team would decide this is how they want to direct their franchise. And it's all because Mark Davis just wants to have the cool name associated with the Raiders. But Brady's done calling games, so as long as there's not a Pizza Hut commercial he's got to go film, he should, in theory, be able to help the Raiders out on a regular basis and not just when he doesn't have to do anything for Fox. By the way, on that game between Seattle and LA, Sam Darnold is going to the Super Bowl, which is insane to think because nobody thought Sam Darnold was actually any good. He had one good year with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. And was like, oh, yeah, Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach. But like now he's going to the Super Bowl and they've been a good offense this entire year. He's looked good. Roger Sherman on Blue Sky tweeted this out. When the Jets drafted Sam Darnold, his offensive coordinator was Jeremy Bates, who has not been hired to any football job since. Then they fired the coaching staff and hired Adam Gase, who has also not been hired to any job in football since. So Sam, this is part of the reason that I keep yelling about the Raiders need an offensive-minded head coach. Like, you've got to have a good offensive-minded play caller. And it's better if that's your head coach than if it's your defensive guy. I know the Super Bowl is about to be played by two guys that are defensive guys. I got it. But the Seahawks are probably going to lose their offensive coordinator. And the Patriots offensive coordinator is like unhireable as a coach in Josh McDaniels because that's happened twice and it's been a disaster. But like Sam Darnold is the perfect example of this. He's in New York with bad coaching and he's terrible with the Jets. He goes one season to Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, who's a good offensive play caller, and he was great. And now he's in a season, first season in Seattle with, we'll see how good Clint Kubiak actually is when he probably gets a head coaching job, but what appears to be a very good offensive play caller, at least better than Adam Gase, and he looks awesome. Again, it's just that's what the Sam Darnold career arc is exactly why the Raiders have got to nail the offensive play calling job this offseason, which I think should just be the head coach too. This is why it's important because Sam Darnold can go from being like, should that guy be in the league to the quarterback of the favored team to win the Super Bowl because of good coaching. That's a huge key to this overall. So see how it goes. But as of now, the Raiders need to hire an offensive-minded head coach. It looks like they're leaning that way. We'll see, though, because got a couple other coaching news bites over the weekend. First one, the Raiders could still hire Mike McDaniel. So Diana Russini reported that McDaniel pulled out of the meeting with the Bills, basically saying, I'm not going to be the Bills' head coach. But he hasn't backed out of any sort of job with the Raiders. Now, it's weird with Mike McDaniel because he's already agreed to be the Chargers' next offensive coordinator, but it's not official yet. And the way it's being reported is just that, hey, if he gets a head coaching job, he's going to take that instead of the Chargers' offensive coordinator job. Very bizarre scenario. And McDaniel has now said no to the Cleveland Browns and no to the Buffalo Bills. Why he said no to the Bills, not entirely sure. I get it, 100% get it with the Browns. That seems like, oh, you're not going to get a head coaching job ever again if you take the Browns job. But the Bills, I feel like if McDaniel's any good at this, you go and you take Josh Allen and you win the division and you go to a Super Bowl. I feel like that would be an easy one. So weird that he pulled out of the Bills, but he's apparently still interested in taking the Raiders job. I guess that means he thinks highly of Fernando Mendoza. I will say this. Tremendous job by Mike McDaniel. He gets fired as the head coach in Miami. And then in this offseason, he has his safety net in place and still has the ability to go out and get a better job. He's going to be the offensive coordinator of the Chargers unless he gets a job he likes better. Terrific work by Mike McDaniel. That's as good as it can get as far as yeah, I'll be your offensive coordinator, but you're going to let me go after head coaching jobs, right? Cool. There's a chance the Chargers have agreed for him to be their offensive coordinator, and he ends up coaching against them in the division. That's why. Good job by Mike McDaniel. We can say that 49ers offensive coordinator Clay Kubiak is not going to be the Raiders' next head coach. Diana Russini reported that he is taking his name out of the running for the Raiders job, and he did for the Steelers job right before they hired Mike McCarthy. We'll get to that in just a minute as well. But this seems kind of odd because I don't think the Steelers or Raiders were going to hire Clay Kubiak. It feels like a nuh-uh, I dumped you type of situation. And the thing that's weird to me is to compare this. Eric Bieniemy, was the offensive coordinator in Kansas City under Andy Reid as the head coach with Patrick Mahomes quarterback, and Eric Bieniemy never got a head coaching opportunity. And largely, at least from the outside, I know there's a lot of rumors about, oh, he's a poor interview, whatever. But at least from the outside, right, it's, oh, well, it's Andy Reid's offense, right? Bieniemy's the offensive coordinator, sure, but he doesn't get credit for that. If Bieniemy doesn't get credit for that, how in the world would we give anybody credit for being the offensive coordinator under Kyle Shanahan? Like, that seems like a wild thing to be like, oh, yeah, hire that guy. We didn't hire the guy who was under Andy Reid, but the guy under Kyle Shanahan, we're definitely going to give him credit for it. So we'll see. And by the way, maybe my memory's bad, but are we getting more reports this year of candidates saying no to job, pulling their names out of jobs than ever before? I feel like we don't get that, at least publicly. Maybe they do it privately a lot more often, but it just seems publicly we're getting that a lot. Also, in the head coaching possibilities, apparently the Raiders interviewed Brian Daboll over the weekend. Why? What good would Brian Daboll do as the head coach of the Raiders? He just got fired by the Giants. And like, Daniel Jones was under Brian Daboll, went to the Colts and was immediately great. Was awesome. Daniel Jones was leading the best offense in the league through the first half of the season. Like, that alone should be disqualifying for Brian Daboll to get a head coaching job right away in the NFL. Why do teams interview so many people? Because there's like no way they're hiring Brian Daboll, right? Like, that's not even a possibility, right? It just seems weird, unless you would be considering it, why you would bring in Brian Daboll for an interview over the weekend when that can't be a serious candidate. You're just doing that to do that. I don't know. We'll see. But that is your coaching updates for the Raiders at the very least. Now, a couple other things from the NFL and championship weekend. First off, I got to yell about some analytics, or more importantly, the way people respond to analytics. Why has nobody criticized Mike Vrabel and Sean Payton for kicking field goals on fourth downs? There were 4 missed field goals in the Patriots and Broncos game. And this is what annoys me so much about the way people, NFL media and NFL fans, talk about fourth down decisions. Because when a team goes for it on fourth down and fails, we hear a couple of things every single time. Number one, we hear take the points. For some reason, people think field goals are automatic. For some reason, people think you never miss a field goal, and if you just attempt the field goal on fourth down, you automatically get 3 points. That's not true. Kickers miss field goals all the time. And the second thing that we always hear is people questioning why the team would go for it, why the coach would decide to go for it on fourth down. Now, important, we only hear it after they fail. If you get it on fourth down, nobody criticizes it. Not a soul criticizes going for it on fourth down when they get it. We don't ever hear that. But when they fail, we hear criticisms of why did the coach go for it? Why didn't he just kick the field goal? Why don't we hear those same criticisms when kickers miss field goals on fourth down? When the offense fails to get a first down on fourth down, we blame the coach. When the kicker fails to convert a field goal on fourth down, we blame the kicker. Why aren't we blaming the coach for both scenarios, or blaming the kicker and the offensive players for both scenarios? Why does the coach only get criticism on the failed offensive play and not on the failed field goal? Especially in that game in the second half when, did anybody think a kick was going to be made? And I know the last Denver field goal was actually blocked, and maybe it had gone through if it doesn't get blocked. But like, did anybody sit there think, oh yeah, field goal, easy? Like, I don't understand why people don't criticize coaches for kicking field goals when they get missed. But the criticism is immediate. It's immediate when you go for it on fourth down and don't get it. It's just insane to me that that's the way we respond to fourth down decision making. Also, that snow game between New England and Denver sucked. All these places, new teams that are getting new stadiums, they're putting domes on their stadiums. Good for you. Good for you, because that game sucked. Cold weather games can be good, but that was not. New England's entire fourth quarter on offense was run the ball and don't let Drake May throw the ball, right? On third down, he threw a ball out of bounds on purpose. like, he just threw it away on third down because they didn't want him to throw an interception. Yes, Denver has a great defense, but Jarrett Stidham sucks. I know. I got it. But that game was terrible. That game was awful, right? The weather made a Denver comeback basically impossible. The defense had to score. And like New England's offense didn't do anything for the entire fourth quarter. They got the one scramble for the first down that sealed the game. That was it. Cold weather games, I will take none of them for the rest of my life and put them all in domes. There's occasionally some cool moments, occasionally some good games, but for the most part, we get just worse football.
Battle Blast, been serving Las Vegas since June 2012 with the very best in family entertainment. We are proud to provide the best facility, equipment, and service possible. Strap on laser tag vests, step into the 5,600 square foot two-story arena designed to look like a worn-torn city street. An exciting atmosphere filled with exhilarating music, blacklight effects, and fog. Battle Blast also features a viewing deck for those not playing can watch players vest up and catch a view of the action going on in the arena. In between games, check out our arcade and prize center and enjoy tasty treats from our snack bar. Birthday parties, sports teams, group outings, and corporate events. Battle Blast does it all. We want to make your Battle Blast experience so good you'll want to return again and again. Battle Blast is the ultimate destination for family fun and friendly competition.
Bischoff's Briefs is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Las Vegas. Thank you to Battle Blast for sponsoring this show. They are the best spot for your next event. Could be a kid's birthday party, your birthday party, corporate event, whatever it is. Battle Blast Las Vegas is where you should have it. Don't forget, they've got more than just laser tag. They've got arcade. They've got prizes, so there's plenty there. It's Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue, your next stop for fun in Las Vegas. They are a big reason why I can do this. Got to have some sponsors around here. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, you can email me at technicallycorrectvegas@gmail.com. Need those sponsors to make this show happen, make this show work, so we can keep talking about Las Vegas sports. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about the Golden Knights getting smashed by the Ottawa Senators. 7-1. Worst loss of the season for the Golden Knights. And the Ottawa Senators started a guy named Mads Sogard in net. His only other start came against the Colorado Avalanche, where Colorado scored 5 goals on 16 shots against Mads Sogard. But this guy shut the Golden Knights down. This was a disaster across the board, right? Adin Hill gives up 7 goals. 7. We're going to get more into Adin Hill on tomorrow's show, so stay tuned for that. But 7 goals from Adin Hill, or against Adin Hill, I should say. The Golden Knights now, their save percentage as a team is 30th out of 32 teams. That's bad. But it wasn't just Adin Hill. This was bad from everybody. Noah Hannafin scored an own goal on Adin Hill. It wasn't even Hill's fault. Noah Hannafin just out here deflecting pucks past Adin Hill. The top line was Eichel, Stone, and Barbashev last night, at least to start the game. Through 33 minutes of hockey last night, the Golden Knights' best line did not have a shot attempt. Not a shot on goal, a shot attempt. We played 33 minutes of hockey, and that line could not muster up a shot attempt. They finally got one. They got a few in the third period as well. But it was pathetic from the top line. Bruce Cassidy tried loading up, right? That was the first line. The second line, he put Marner on a wing with Hurdle at center and Pavel Dorofeyev. They had one shot attempt the entire game while on the ice together. Now, Cassidy did break them up and kept them apart a little bit later in the game. But your top 2 lines through half the game combined for one shot attempt. And again, he loaded them up. The third and fourth lines were not good players, even though the fourth line was probably the best line the Golden Knights had in that game. They got a 5-on-3 power play, did not score on it. Mitch Marner got a penalty shot. He deked about 17 times, didn't score. Like, it was bad across the board. Everything about that was bad. Except Rasmus Andersson scored his first goal as a Golden Knight. I feel like it's got to be that has to be the worst first goal for a player in franchise history. Down 7-0, and he scores his first goal. And it's maybe the only good thing that happened in that game. But I do want to make sure I talk about the Golden Knights beating the Maple Leafs because they smacked Toronto They had a 4-1 lead in that game. It did get cut down to 4-3 at one point. It was a little close, but the Golden Knights pulled away to win 6-3. Little disappointed because Mitch Marner didn't do a whole lot, right? He did make a nice play to set up a Pavel Dorofeyev scoring chance that after a rebound ended up as a Pavel Dorofeyev goal. He didn't even get an assist off of it, though. So, but otherwise, like, very nondescript game. It wasn't like a bad Mitch Marner game, but it wasn't a good Mitch Marner game, right? There were no points in there. His line, they actually had the worst Corsi and expected goals of any Golden Knights line in that game. But again, didn't think he was bad, but just wasn't very good in that game, which is disappointing because I wanted preferably Marner to score 4 goals, but having the worst game of his life would have also been funny. So I was hoping for one extreme, and we kind of got maybe a little closer to bad than good, but right down the middle from Mitch Marner. Toronto fans booed. They did cheer for his welcome back video, which, okay, good for them, but they booed this entire time. We did have an interesting moment. And I'm pretty sure Keegan Colasar should have been fined, even though he's not going to be fined for this. The Golden Knights, as they were taking the ice, there are Maple Leaf fans that are sort of right where the tunnel meets the bench, and then you take about a step or two and the players are on the ice. And as Keegan Colasar is coming up to the bench, there's a fan holding up a Maple Leafs jersey that had the number 16. That was Mitch Marner's number in Toronto. And instead of Marner at the last name, it said sellout at the last name. And Keegan Colasar decided to rip the jersey out of the fan's hands and just throw it onto the ground. Now, first off, it does seem odd that the fans can be that close to where the fans can touch the Golden Knights players as they take the ice. That seems bad. Toronto probably needs to have that changed. But you got to find Keegan Colasar for that. Like, he ripped property of a fan out of their hands and threw it on the ground. That can't happen. Like, that should not be allowed to happen. That does it in any of our other sports. That's a fine, right? Like, if a baseball player is coming out onto the field, going out to, I don't know, right field, and runs over to a fan and rips a sign out of their hand or something like that, that's going to be a shitstorm, right? An NFL player does it. Like, it's gonna be an actual problem. But Keegan Colasar did it, and nothing's gonna come from it because for some reason the NHL isn't popular enough to get mainstream media coverage of events like that to then put pressure on them to actually punish their players. When if that happened in the NFL, it'd be one of the 5 biggest stories of the weekend that a teammate ripped it off. Also, can Mitch Marner not handle a jersey that says sellout? Like, why? What's Keegan Colasar even doing that for? Was he mad about it? Was he like, oh my God, how dare they call him a sellout? Or was he trying to protect Mitch Marner? Like, I can't let Mitch see. Because Mitch Marner was, I think, 2 people behind him. There, he's right behind him. I don't know. It just seems like you got to protect Mitch Marner from a jersey that says sellout. He's about to go play and get booed by all of these people for 60 minutes. What are we doing there? So, Golden Knights, again, we'll get more to Aiden Hill tomorrow. Also get into sort of the up and down of the Golden Knights now, where they went 5-game losing streak, 7-game winning streak, and now this road trip is not good, but also they had this game where they were awesome. So very weird team at the moment that we'll get into tomorrow. The Steelers hired Mike McCarthy as their next head coach. Does anyone know why? Why? What happened there? What are they doing? Are they terrified of hiring a coordinator that might be horrible? So they were just like, that guy won a Super Bowl once. Let's hire Mike McCarthy. Do they really want Aaron Rodgers back? Is that the goal here? Like, oh, yeah, he played for McCarthy. He likes him. We'll get Aaron. How old is Aaron Rodgers? Like 43 now? Do they really want Aaron Rodgers back to come play for Mike McCarthy? I don't know. And here's the funny thing about it. The Raiders missed out on another head coaching candidate. But, like, this is one you definitely didn't want. Like, yeah, the Raiders are watching other teams hire coaches. But I don't think many of them are coaches that the Raiders should be wanting, right? You don't want Mike McCarthy. You don't want Robert Saleh. I don't think you want Jeff Hafley. Maybe Jesse Mentor, but I am in the camp of wanting an offensive guy, so I would be no to Jesse Mentor. Same with John Harbaugh. The name's there, right? You might want him, but I wouldn't have wanted to hire him. Really, the only one so far is Atlanta hired Kevin Stefanski. That's the one guy that's been hired so far that I think you can point to and say, oh, the Raiders could have missed out on that, where it probably would have been the guy or the right type of guy to hire. But so far, they just haven't been good coaching hires. At least I don't think. I don't know. Maybe we'll look back and be like, oh, all these guys were great in this 2026 class, but I just don't feel like it's been guys that you would have really wanted. And maybe that's just a sign that this is a terrible offseason for hiring a head coach, because who are the Raiders going to hire, right? Like Clint Kubiak from the Seahawks as their offensive coordinator. I think it would probably be a good hire, right? At least it would fit the narrative or my narrative of wanting an offensive-minded head coach. But like, is there any reason to think Clint Kubiak's going to be good, right? Like, it's not like he's some can't-miss offensive coordinator. He's had very little experience as an offensive coordinator. So I don't know. It just seems like this is it. There's not a lot of just, oh yeah, that's a good head coaching candidate, we should go hire him. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of bad coaching candidates, and it's like, oh, who do we hire? Mike McCarthy? Okay. But that one's bad. That one's really bad. They did not have to do that to themselves. In college football, the college football playoff will remain at 12 teams. The SEC and Big Ten could not agree to a new format. The Big Ten wants 24 teams, and they want to have like 4 automatic qualifying teams from the Big Ten, from the SEC, 2 from the ACC, and 2 from the Big 12. That's what they want. The SEC wants 16 teams, and they want to just have the 5 conference champions get in, and then it's just 11 at-large. The SEC wants as many at-large as possible because the SEC believes the more at-large teams, the more likely it is the SEC gets more teams in. But, I mean, this is a disaster from these two. The SEC and Big Ten want to run college football and do run college football. And we have seen college football get blown up from not the transfer portal stuff, but from the realignment part, right? Which all stems from these conferences trying to grow and get bigger, right? And yet they can't come together to agree on a playoff format. So now we're going to stay at 12. 12's been fun. I have enjoyed the college football playoff. I have not made it any question. I want it to be bigger. No doubt in my mind, I want to see 16 teams. But these two conferences can't figure it out because they've got to come up with these dumbass automatic qualifying spots. Like, get out of here, Big Ten. You don't need 4 automatic. If you can't have 4 teams that are at larges in the top 24, what are you doing? Like, what, you need 4 AQs to guarantee your 4th best team gets in when it's a 24 team tournament? It's just sad. I don't like it. I hate it. Also, the Bills interviewed Philip Rivers for their head coaching position. That is according to Adam Schefter. What are we supposed to do with that? Philip Rivers is a high school football coach? I don't understand. Why did they even give him an interview? That's the most ridiculous interview of the offseason. Philip Rivers, the guy who came out of retirement to play quarterback like he was 70 years old? I think Pete Carroll might have played quarterback better than Philip Rivers when Rivers came back. It's just, what's that? And now I want the Bills to hire Philip Rivers because that would be insanely stupid and it would be kind of funny to watch. But why'd they even why are these teams interviewing these people? I don't get it. They interview way too many people. It's insane. In UNLV football news, some transfer news. First off, a former UNLV wide receiver, Trey O'Meara, is going to New Mexico. He was UNLV's second leading receiver last year, 514 yards. The ball was spread around quite a bit, but he started his career at Texas, went to Arizona State, then UNLV. Now he's going to New Mexico. I guess one of the questions I would have is, like, is this a player UNLV kind of pushed out? Like, did UNLV kind of say, hey, hit the portal? Or did he think he was going to end up at a level higher than UNLV when he hit the transfer portal? Or did he just not like it at UNLV? And he knew, oh, I'm a Mountain West level player. I just don't like it here. I'd rather go somewhere comparable, but that's not here. I don't know, but UNLV is having to restock its entire wide receiver room. They're losing their top 4 wide receivers from last year. This is one of them that is gone. So no O'Meara for next season. He'll be playing against UNLV at New Mexico. UNLV did land a couple of transfers. First off, from App State, they got an offensive lineman named Griffin Scroggs. Great last name for an offensive lineman. 24/7 has him ranked as a 3-star transfer. The last 2 years, he played basically the entire second half as the starting right guard for App State. The year before, he was the starting left guard for App State. PFF has given him a grade between 63 and 69 over these last 2 years, so decent but not really good at App State. We are, depending on how you feel about the new Mountain West, this is either a lateral move or a slight step up for Scroggs. So I think it's probably fair to say like what he's been at App State will probably be what he is at UNLV, right? You're a decent but not great offensive lineman at App State. I don't think there's any reason to expect him to be much better or much worse than that at UNLV, which means he should be a decent offense option on the interior of the offensive line. UNLV also landed a linebacker from SMU, Mark Iheanacho. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. 24/7 does not have him as a ranked transfer. He was a 3-star at a high school, was a freshman this past year at SMU. So they added another defensive player in the transfer portal. And the last thing in Bischoff's briefs today, the Las Vegas Aviators introduced a new logo for the upcoming season. The Aviators had one of the worst logos in sports with their weird Bugman, bad Iron Man aviator guy. It was supposed to be a pilot, but it just wasn't good. It just did not look good. So that is gone. They have a new pilot head that is better. There's some baseball seam details in there on the helmet. It just looks better. It's still not great, but it does look better, right? And the one I'm actually excited about is they have a new logo, brand new, that is a capital A with the propeller plane flying through it. Big fan of that logo. So the Aviators actually have much better logos now. I have liked the name Aviators. I think they did a good job with the name Las Vegas Aviators. If you're unaware, it's because the Howard Hughes Corporation is the team, own the team. Howard Hughes has a history in aviation. If you want to look that up, go for it. But that's where the name Aviators came from, which I thought was great. But now they've actually got some decent logos to go with it. So the Aviators are going to have some better merch for this upcoming season. Bischoff's Briefs brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. Host your next birthday party at Battle Blast. You can book the party package and you'll get a private party room, dedicated party host, pizza, sodas, arcade tokens, and of course, laser tag. Plus, your kids play and you really want to play, you can add on a game for adults or just book it for your birthday altogether. Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue, your next stop for fun in Las Vegas. If you want to support the show, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/technicallycorrect with Tyler Bischoff. I'll have bonus content up there for you to read or watch or listen to. Should hopefully have something up there about some UNLV basketball. So check me out at Patreon if you want to support the show a little bit more and get some more bonus content. I appreciate any of the Patreon content that I can get. Now, UNLV lost to San Diego State by 11 on Saturday, and it felt like a reality check for UNLV. UNLV had won 3 straight games. They were playing better, and then they got smacked a little bit by San Diego State. It was not a horrendous performance, right? It wasn't good, but it definitely felt like they're not as good as San Diego State. Honestly, it felt like a lot of UNLV San Diego State games over the last decade or so, where San Diego State is just physically better than UNLV, and they impose that throughout the game, and you just sort of feel that there is a superiority by San Diego State. That's happened a lot for UNLV over the last 10 to 12 years in this matchup. San Diego State has had a lot of really good performances against UNLV. Now, there's a couple of things from this game. First off, UNLV's offense, they did score over 1 point per possession. So the offense wasn't terrible. I do want to make sure that's kind of clear here. It wasn't this horrendous offensive game. But I didn't think it was great in the way they were able to get shots, especially in the first half. They couldn't get into the paint. They had 2 layup attempts in the entire first half and just 6 free throw attempts. And 61% of their shots in the first half were threes. This team on the season, I think it's 38% of all their shots have been threes. So they were taking a ton of 3-pointers in that first half. It was basically, can Dre Gibbs Lawhorn get into the paint? Otherwise, we're going to have to shoot a 3. And they did shoot well in the first half, which is what kept them in the game early. But it wasn't a good sign for the actual offense, right? The second half was better, but the 3-point shooting got worse. And so there was sort of this net negative, I think, in the second half based on the first half, or compared to the first half, on how the offense was actually producing. But I do wonder, how good is the UNLV offense against good defenses? Because San Diego State is the second best defense in the Mountain West by defensive rating. New Mexico and Grand Canyon are first and third. right? And again, UNLV had just over 1 point per possession, so it's not like this was a bad offensive game, but it wasn't as good as the previous three. A big reason why UNLV had won 3 straight was the offense was performing really, really well. And that wasn't the case against San Diego State. So how good is that? We'll see. Also important, Tyron Jones is really, really bad at free throws. The pump fake did not help. He was 2 of 10 from the free throw line in this game. 2 of 10. That's really bad. The rest of the team was 10 of 12. Everybody not named Tyron Jones shot well from the free throw line. But Tyron Jones is now at an even 50% from the free throw line this season. The problem for UNLV is he's taking the most free throws on the team. He's up to about 6 per game now. And that's because he's the guy that attacks the rim the most, right? And it's interesting because before the game, Josh Pastner, when he talked to the media, talked about, hey, Tyron Jones has to finish off and ones. He can't be a feather. He's got to finish through contact. And then in this game, Tyron Jones drew 5 shooting fouls and missed 8 of the 10 free throws off of those shooting fouls. He did not convert an and one when he could have, and that's something that Pastner had highlighted. And then he goes to the free throw line and misses 2 free throws. It's pretty fair to say, I think, at this point that Tyron Jones, when he gets fouled on a layup attempt, if he doesn't make the layup, it's leaving 2 points on the board, right? Like, I mean, that's you're kind of like that's what we're missing here from Tyron Jones because he's shooting 50%, so if he gets fouled on a layup and doesn't get the and one, the expected points is 1. Whereas if he does make the layup, the expected points now becomes 2.5. So maybe a 1.5 should be the math I'm going with there. But that is a lot of points you're missing for every time he doesn't score on an and one. So it's a problem, but it's also like, yeah, the Tyron Jones getting layups is good for this team overall. Another big part of this game was the crowd, or at least the narrative around the crowd coming in. Josh Pastner, the day before the game, talked to the media, was asking for more fans, talking about free parking, talking about $4 beer, and how it was a great deal, and it's what UNLV fans should be doing. That students should be showing up. They got free tickets, right? And UNLV had won 3 straight. They announced an attendance of 7,200 for this game, right? It was comparatively to the rest of the season, it was a good crowd, best crowd of the season. But I think the bigger problem for UNLV is like, how do you actually get a quality crowd on a regular basis? And winning is the only answer. And they haven't done that in a long time. Like, I don't think anything else really matters. Like, and when we talked to Pastner before the game, the day before the game, I kind of asked him about like, hey, how long do you think this takes? And he mentioned in there, like, hey, I did every interview, I did every, fan event, I did everything I was asked to do in the off season. And Josh Pastner does talk to anybody, as far as I know. And he said at one point that he responds to fan emails. So Josh Pastner is like as accessible as a UNLV head coach has probably been to fans and media. And he was like, but it didn't matter, right? That didn't lead to UNLV getting more fans because all that matters is winning. I'm saying that. He didn't say that. I'm saying all that matters is winning. And more importantly, playing relevant games. I think this is the big thing I've been asking for a while, right? When does UNLV play a game that matters for something, for anything, right? NCAA tournament bubble, NCAA tournament resume. When do they play a game that matters? Because they haven't done that in a very, very long time. And when that happens, that's when I think the crowd will start to come back. Again, it'll be kind of slow, but I think once you are playing games that matter, because here's the reality of it. For UNLV to be playing games that matter, it's going to be January and February when these games matter for the NCAA tournament, which means UNLV will have been playing well throughout the entire season, right? If UNLV were to be playing, they play on Tuesday, right? In a hypothetical scenario, if UNLV was 41 in KenPom and we were talking about the NCAA tournament and like, hey, this is a big game for their resume, big game for the bubble, whatever. that would have meant that they had been playing well the entire season leading up to that, which is going to generate that interest, right? More people showed up for this game against San Diego State than any other game because they had been playing just a little bit better. So, like, you've got to have this good season to play these relevant games, which means if UNLV get anywhere close to a decent crowd, they've got to play well for 15, 20 games in a row. You can have some bad ones, obviously, but you got to play well for 15 to 20 games. And I think the reality is you might have to do it for multiple years. Like, and in all seriousness, I think for UNLV to have a really good crowd, I mean like 10,000 people for multiple games, I think it might be you've got to go to the NCAA tournament, then come back the next year and be in the NCAA tournament conversation again. I think that might be the case for them to get average, let's put it this way, average 10,000 fans through the Mountain West schedule. I think for that to happen, they probably have to go to the tournament and then come back and have a tournament level team going into Mountain West play again. So this is probably a multiple year situation. And this year doesn't count as one of those multiple years because they're not going to the NCAA tournament unless they win the Mountain West tournament. But so that means we're talking year 3 of Josh Pastner is maybe the earliest to actually look and say, hey, if everything goes really well, UNLV can get the crowds back, right? It's kind of sobering, right? And it's weird because UNLV football has actually put up crowds way better than they had ever had before, at least on a consistent basis. And the team's really good, right? The team's been great for 3 years, and they have played relevant games, right? For the Mountain West Championship or to stay in Mountain West Championship races, to go to the college football playoff, right? Like they've played relevant games, the actual Mountain West Championship games, right? Football's even here where the basketball program's been better than the football historically. Football is a bigger deal than basketball, and it's a little bit easier to get people to come out and watch the one game a week on a Saturday. But I do think it's going to take multiple years for UNLV to get a legitimate crowd back there. And the other problem here is you have so many professional sports teams here that how are you going to find out about it? Right? If you listen to this show, you already know about UNLV basketball because you're watching them. But I guess think about your friends that are casual sports fans. How are they going to hey, oh, UNLV's good. How are they going to know? Right? They're going to have to find out about it from the media if they're not paying attention to every UNLV game. And the the Las Vegas media has been so splintered through pro sports that it's just, how is that going to happen unless the team is playing for the NCAA tournament or has done it once and is coming back again? Because I'll say this from a media perspective, right? Josh Pastner usually talks to the media the day before a game, right? A pre-game sort of media, but it's the day before. Not necessarily every game, but most of the time, the day before a game, he talks to the media. The people that show up for those, right? Steve Cofield is there. Now, Steve Cofield works for Learfield. He's effectively, right, an employee of Learfield, which is basically a UNLV arm, right? So he's got to be there. Paloma Viacana from Fox 5 is there. Paloma does the Red Zone show. Paloma is, her job is, hey, be positive about UNLV, do the Red Zone show. Everything's great about UNLV. So you have two people who are, in essence, oh yeah, they kind of have to be there because it's UNLV. Outside of that, it's been me, a student newspaper guy. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. And then one, sometimes two local TV news stations, right? Not counting Paloma and Fox 5. And the RJ. The RJ is there too. Callie Finn is back covering the team. That's not very much. You have one written publication that's there on a regular basis. You have two TV news stations that are there on a regular basis. One radio media member that's there on a regular basis. And then me, the guy who got fired and is trying to do this crap on his own, right? That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing that's there for coverage of this team. Meanwhile, there's 1,000 people that cover the Raiders. So that's part of the issue is the media is now, they're covering more notable things, right? Everything the Raiders do is more notable than UNLV, even though the Raiders are bad too, right? The Golden Knights are more popular. You should be covering the Golden Knights more than UNLV because they're more popular. And so that's the problem UNLV has run into, is that you have to be that's why I say it's NCAA tournament level good. Because if you're not NCAA tournament level good, the casual Las Vegas sports fan is not going to care. The casual Las Vegas sports fan is not going to care that you've won 3 straight games and you're playing San Diego State. You need to be 13-2 and playing San Diego State. So I think that's part of the issue with attendance and crowd. I think there's a lot of issues that go into it, but it just comes down to winning. And honestly, I think it is NCAA tournament level winning. It's not just have a good season. It's not just play well. I mean, we've seen them play well for it. It seems like every year they have an 8-game stretch in Mountain West play where they look good. And it's like, oh, this team could win the Mountain West tournament, but it only lasts for those 8 games. And then they lose in the quarterfinals of the Mountain West tournament, and they're 18-15 or whatever the hell the record is, and they're just not good. So I don't know. There's a lot that goes into it. They've got to win a lot, and they've got to go to NCAA tournaments. And then the crowds might come back. Then people might care about UNLV basketball. Last thing from this game, Brian Dutcher, San Diego State's head coach. Oh, boy. What a hero. He gave me a great example of why coaches are stupid with their challenges. He challenged a call with 7:45 left in the first half of the game. And I will be honest, I am still not 100% sure what he challenged, because the play before he challenged was out of bounds off of UNLV, and it was an obvious call. It wasn't a questionable call. So it was San Diego State's ball, and he challenged. So that's not what he was challenging. He was somehow challenging if there should have been a flagrant foul. I don't know. If you watch the TV broadcast, maybe you have a better idea of it than I do, who was there, because the ref gave a mumbled answer into the mic. I feel like he was trying to challenge for a flagrant foul, but that's not allowed. That's not in the rules. So I'm not 100% sure what he was challenging. I am 100% sure the referee said challenge was unsuccessful, meaning he could not challenge anything else the rest of the game. So with 7:45 to go in the first half, Brian Dutcher challenged something and lost. Very last play of the first half, UNLV scored on it. And Emmanuel Stephan had one of the most obvious goaltends in the history of basketball. The ball is like in the cylinder, and he just goes and sort of taps it down. Just like, yep, I'm just going to put that in. I don't know how the refs missed it, because everybody saw this. Brian Dutcher yells at the refs to look at it, but they can't. They cannot unless he challenges. And guess what? He didn't have a challenge anymore because he was a moron and challenged something with 7:45 to go in the first half. Basket that should not have counted. Yes, it didn't end up mattering because San Diego State won by 11 points, but coaches are so bad with these challenges, it's insane. And he had me looking up what the hell you can challenge, because I thought he challenged a flagrant foul, and that shouldn't be allowed. Also, side note, final 2 minutes of the game, the referees can look at goaltending. So even if you don't have your challenge anymore, the Emmanuel Stephan goaltend, they could have looked at that if it had been the final 2 minutes of the game as opposed to the final 2 minutes of the first half. But that is it for Technically Correct. I am Tyler Bischoff. Thank you so much for tuning in.